Larry Stylinson is both the most loved and hated theory in the One Direction fandom. From rainbow bears to PR relationships, this debate feels like it's been raging forever. And love it or hate it, you've got to admit that from a marketing point of view, it is so fascinating. So in this video, I wanted to break down Larry Stylinson, but not as a theory, but more as an accidental marketing phenomenon, while also recognizing the challenges that it has created for the artists and their marketing teams. Hi, my name is Bella. I'm a One Direction fangirl, YouTuber, musician, and happen to have a master's degree in branding and wrote my master thesis on the One Direction fandom. So I love looking at concepts within the fandom from a marketing point of view. I gotta admit, I got the idea for this video like 2 months ago as of filming, and I've just been postponing it because I knew the minefield that I would have to navigate. If you were expecting this video to be a
"is Larry real or not" proof video, all of that.
This is not what this is, okay? But what I don't see talked about enough online and what I want to talk about is how the existence of the Larry debate itself, in my opinion, could be argued to be one of the factors that fueled One Direction's commercial success, especially in the earlier days of the band. And that is what this video is about. Also, I just want to underline that this is my opinion, and you have every right to have your opinion, and this is just how I feel. And if you disagree, you can do so respectfully in the comments. And also, quick side note, I am so close to getting monetized on here, so if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. If you've been living under a rock, what are you doing in this video? But also, let's go over some facts. Larrys are people who believe that Louis and Harry are romantically involved, and antis are people who believe that they're not. And then obviously, there are people who are in the middle, who either don't care, don't know what to think, or maybe that they were once together but they aren't now. Again, it's a spectrum, really. Oh, and I think it's really important to also distinguish this from the shipping and the fan fiction of it all, because I'd argue that shipping is more based in fiction and more for fun and entertainment, and more seen in the arts and in the fanfics. In my opinion, you can totally enjoy a Larry fanfic without necessarily believing that they're together in real life, kind of in the same way that you can enjoy a Niall and Harry fanfic without thinking that it's real in real life, or a Niall Horan and YN fanfic without obviously thinking that you are in a relationship with Niall Horan. Anyways, back to the point, you might be like, but what does this have to do with One Direction's success? Glad you asked. The entire point of marketing is to promote something or someone. But marketing is expensive. So wouldn't it be so convenient if you could get your customers to promote you on your behalf for free? And this in literature is often referred to as co-creation, or specifically in fandoms, also sometimes fan exploitation. And what makes fandoms special compared to just brand communities is this interaction between fans about the artist. Like, the fans communicate more with each other than the artist communicates with the fans, if that makes sense. Point is, what makes fandoms valuable is, yes, they buy merch, listen to the songs, buy tickets for tours and so on, but also there is so much discourse going around all the time. And I would argue that a fandom is more attractive the more discourse there is in it. It reminds me of like a dance floor. Like, yes, you can go out onto an empty dance floor and dance, but it feels kind of weird if there's no one else. But if there's already people on the dance floor, then it seems more inviting because there's already stuff going on and it's less intimidating. So say we have a soon-to-be fan who is to join a fandom. They have found, let's say, 2 potential fandoms they would like to join. Let's say option 1. The artist has nice songs and they sing well and they perform well, but on Twitter and Tumblr and Instagram and all the other social medias, there's not really much going on. Maybe someone is making some fan edits, complimenting their voice or figuring out where the outfit is from, and the fans seem nice enough. And then we have option 2. The artist also has great songs and performs well and sings well, and while there are similar types of support online as in the first option, there is also a conspiracy theory, one that apparently people care a lot about figuring out a side for. Now, there's a high likelihood that the second option is just more intriguing, and from a psychological point of view, there are so many reasons for this, but for the sake of the length of this video, I'll stick to a couple. First of all, quite simply, we as humans just do not like not knowing something. Our brains are so curious, so when there's something that we don't know the answer to, then our curiosity can motivate us to deep dive, for more information. That's why fans fall into rabbit holes on YouTube and why people love murder mysteries and true crime documentaries. We love the idea of having a problem and then being presented with a solution to the problem. This tension and release is so satisfying to our brains. But also, if you can't find a satisfying answer, then science suggests that you're more likely to remember that thing that you couldn't find the solution to or the answer to. And we see this in media with like cliffhangers in movies or unresolved plot points in books. And in fandoms, if the answer to the conspiracy theory isn't glaringly obvious and satisfying, then we might think about this conspiracy theory more. And then there's the entire concept of cognitive dissonance, which is basically the discomfort that a person feels when their beliefs don't align with their actions. So a fan might say, oh, I don't care about figuring out a side in the entire, Larry Stylinson debate. But then also at the same time, stalk Twitter, Tumblr, and YouTube for more information. And that mismatch causes discomfort and makes you feel even more pressure to want to resolve it. And some fans might resolve this discomfort by changing their beliefs, so saying, oh, maybe there is something here, or no, I don't care. And other fans might want to change their behavior, i.e. avoiding the content altogether. Either way, oftentimes when they've researched and decided on a side, they're now more devoted to that opinion. Without even realizing it, they're now more emotionally connected to the artist and to the fandom. And this is where you can talk about the sense of belonging or the concept of, in-group versus out-group. Because now that the fan has decided on what they believe is the truth, they now feel like they belong to the group of people who got it right in a way that the other side could just never understand. It's this whole us versus them mentality. And suddenly, you're not just part of a fandom. No, you now belong to a subgroup in the fandom where you can interact with people who feel the same and believe the same things as you do. A place in the fandom where you feel understood. So basically, when you take all of that into account, I would argue that the existence of the whole conspiracy theory, especially in the earlier days of One Direction, increased some of the psychological attachments, but also the loyalty that fans had not only to the artist, but also to each other. Additionally, I would also argue that it increased the amount of discourse that was going around in the fandom, which made the fandom more attractive for non-fans to join. Another fandom that's not the One Direction fandom that we see this with is fandoms like the Taylor Swift fandom. Like last year, every single day on TikTok, I saw decoding theories, conspiracy theories of Easter eggs and when albums were dropping and what the different things meant. And I could not escape that for the life of me. And it just goes to show the importance of fan discourse when promoting anything as an artist. And additionally, while yes, there was always discourse for the individual artists and the performances and the songs and so on, I'd argue that the Larry debate added another layer to that. Because now on top of the regular discourse, there was now additional discourse looking through the Larry lens, let's call it that. Because now it wasn't just,
oh, the performance was so good, or oh my god, the high notes.
Now it was also,
oh, did you see how they looked at each other?
From the Larrys, but then also,
oh my god, the Larrys are delusional.
From the antis. And that extra level of engagement, I hate to say it, but it's really good for the algorithm. Back before Twitter became the hellscape that it is today, the One Direction fandom, we were trending shit on Twitter so often. And that was one of the signs of like a fiercely active and loyal fandom. And that in turn gave One Direction greater brand awareness for non-fans and made them want to join this active fandom. And I think in a way that helped them propel themselves into the stardom and the level of fame and success that they ended up achieving. And while I personally believe that the existence of the Larry debate definitely had some benefits to One Direction's commercial success and also their individual band members' success, especially back then, but also now, I do think it's important to recognize the challenges that comes with managing a fandom that is somewhat fragmented, because I think that's really important to talk about as well. So I want to look at this from a marketing and business point of view, because I think it's really important to recognize that Louis Tomlinson, the person, is different from Louis Tomlinson, the business. Because what might be logical for Louis Tomlinson, the person, might not always be the best decision for Louis Tomlinson, the business. Also a reminder that this is the music industry, the entertainment industry, one of the more cutthroat industries out there. So long-term strategies are key to success. And I'm gonna use Louis as an example here because he's just more active than Harry, so I have more to go on. The way I see it is this: if I was Louis Tomlinson's brand manager and I had to manage his fandom, which I know is a complex fandom and somewhat fragmented fandom, especially on the Larry front, then really I would have a couple of options. If nothing is confirmed or denied, then the fans are still there, still buying merch, still streaming the songs, still buying tour tickets, still supporting him online, still having a discourse, which could make the fandom more attractive and be beneficial long term. Then you could also pacify both sides of the argument. And I think that's kind of what they were trying to do. Recently, as of filming this video, we had Louis Tomlinson liking a Larry reel, and then not even 2 weeks later, he was telling off Larry's on Twitter along with other fans. And business-wise, it's could be argued to be kind of smart, because you're giving both sides something that they like and something that they don't like. On top of that, this fueled the fandom discourse, and also the tweet had like 10 to 20 articles written about it, which is great for getting mainstream attention and brand awareness. And also I would argue that it made fans feel more empathetic towards him, which I think is a great way to try to strengthen the parasocial relationship. When that is said though, trying to pacify both sides could also majorly backfire, because in a weird way it kind of breaks the fourth wall and can give a sense of emotional whiplash, which is not necessarily so nice for fans to experience. And additionally, this trying to pacify both sides I think also just fuels the feeling of wanting to fight for him, which is just fanning the flames of the entire debate. And personally, I think that's when it becomes harmful for the fandom to be so divided. I think the entire online hate and death threats online to people, that's when it becomes problematic. It's sending a negative shockwave and negative ripples through what should be a space of enjoyment and community. I can already hear the comments. If it's so problematic, then why wouldn't he just tell us outright once and for all? And yeah, I get it, 100%. As I said before, wanting something resolved is just how we work mentally as humans. But the more I think about it, the more it makes sense why he doesn't. First of all, Louis Tomlinson, the person, might not want everything publicly available. Because in order to fully close the debate to a point where people are fully satisfied with the answers, he'd have to give up a lot of information and answer a lot of questions. And I just don't think he wants to do that, because we know he values his privacy. And at the end of the day, we're not owed an answer. No one is forcing you to be in the fandom, and no one is forcing you to fight for the truth for him. He's not asking you of that. And you can totally just enjoy the music and not be in the fandom online. Another reason for why it makes sense that he doesn't say anything is this: alienating a pretty big chunk of your fandom is just plain stupid from a business point of view. Because that means less demand for tickets and less support for album drops and less streams. And that's just not smart, especially when you consider how much money and resources it can take to gain new fans. And it's probably more profitable to keep the existing ones, even if that means that there's a bit more drama in the fandom, and it's not quite ideal. And I'm sure the math has been done by Louis and all the different brand managers he probably has. Like, they're not dumb. Especially when they have the option to stay silent or semi-silent. Louis can keep his privacy and they can still have decent sales. You know? Like, that option is objectively better, which is why I think they're doing it. The Larry Stylinson debate is so big that it's not just a random fandom theory. On one hand, it's a great marketing benefit. Free publicity, free discourse, more attractive fandom for free, in a way that even the marketers themselves would have a hard time doing, because it's organic engagement. When fans talk, create, and share things with each other, it keeps the community active, which helps the artist stay relevant and popular. It's like the fandom becomes its own marketing machine, and that is just so powerful and rare. But, and this is a big but, this also does create some tricky situations, because it's harder to manage. It's about finding the balance between keeping fans happy and protecting the artist's privacy and their boundaries. And sometimes staying quiet or ambiguous isn't about hiding something. It's a smart way to keep the peace, regardless of which side you're on, if any. It's important to remember that there's a real person behind all of this. And also, there's real people behind the fans too. So sure, Go ahead and enjoy the fan art, the rabbit holes, the community, but do keep in mind that Louis and the other guys deserve respect and privacy too. And with that, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And also, if you want to watch any of my other opinion videos, I'll link some up here or in the comments. And with that, have a nice day, have a nice week, and I'll see you again in my next video. Bye!